Hello, everyone. Today I'm talking to Haitham Al-Haidari, the co-founder and CEO of Modaris. Hello, Haitham. Good day, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Haitham. And Haitham, thank you very much for giving us your time to share your entrepreneurial journey with Modaris and, to teach us some lessons through your journey, and hopefully other entrepreneurs can learn from your experience. So thank you.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Haitham, are you happy for me to get into the first question?
Let's go.
Thank you. Can you please share a little about yourself, Haitham, the place you were born, your education, your passion, the things that you enjoy doing, and one thing that the public might not know about you?
Well, my name is Haitham Al-Haidari. I am from Yemen. I was born and raised in Yemen until 2011, and then I was accepted in Texas A&M University in Qatar to study engineering. So I came in 2011 to Qatar, studied mechanical engineering at Texas A&M University. It was good journey for 4 years, and then within it, I discovered more what I like. Engineering wasn't the best fit for me. That's what I found out. And so midway through my journey, I decided to focus on things that I have probably more talent for. And so I started self-study business and computer science. And then my journey started from there. One thing people might not know about me would be I'm a huge board game fan. I play board games all the time, and I've been for a while thinking of making a board game myself.
Good on you, Haitham. That'll be interesting. We'll wait. We'll hold on to you for that. You know what I mean? And maybe come back to you in the future. Good on you. And the same case with me. I also did engineering, but probably I realized over a period of time that probably that was not what I should have done. So it's interesting. Right. We kind of share a similar story. Right. And Haitham, moving on to the next one, can you please share about your work experience prior to starting your venture, which is Modaris, with your co-founder?
Sure. So when I graduated, I started working in an elevators company as a sales engineer, which is great because it uses some technical knowledge and a lot of business knowledge, and it helps shape a lot of things that I needed before I start businesses and things like, from pricing to negotiation to all of these things. Although I started a small startup before it, but the combination of the two experiences merged quite beautifully. So it helped a lot, but again, it wasn't the passion that I wanted. Personally, I'm a person who likes to update things, change things, lead the change, just anywhere around me. If there is something that can be better, I just try to get in. One of the things are education and technology in general. I was a tutor in my university years as well. The education space in general, whether it's physically, whether it's online, has not been updated for so many years. I have my share criticism of the educational system around the world in general. And it's one of the things that helped me shape Modaris, because it's one thing I want to challenge to help improve.
Good on you, Haitham. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And all the best with your vision, and hope Modaris plays a part in that bigger vision that you have for education. Yeah. And Haitham, moving on to the third one, can you please tell me when did you start Modaris, and what was the inspiration behind this entrepreneurial venture?
So the first venture we started, me and my co-founder, she was my fiance back then, now my wife. She's the business person. So most of the things I learned from her, and she leads the way in terms of more strategic business decisions. So we started a educational center called United Admissions.
Okay.
And the point of that was to not only prepare students to go to university, but help them solve the problem that we solved as, when we were students. And that is knowing exactly what you're going to study before you go to study it. In my case, for example, engineering, you waste time, and then you discover, okay, this is not what I thought it was, and so it was a center that could, train students and make them learn more about what are the exact things that would be studying before they study, because especially in this part of the region, people are very much into, medicine or engineering. And also that's influenced by parents, and in many parts of the world is like that. And people don't understand exactly what they're going to do. So a lot of students, they think if you're going to go to mechanical engineering degree, then you'll be building robots. Mm-hmm. And that is the furthest thing from a mechanical engineer. I studied mechanical engineering, and that was, all graphs. And there is a lot of misconceptions around these things. Eventually, the business failed. Mm-hmm. And what we learned from it was, there were a lot of things that we learned from, but the biggest thing was that there is a lot of people asking for private tutoring because we used to hold classes.
Okay.
So when we stopped it, we, one day, so I was also online tutoring, private tutoring, home tutoring with other students. Mm-hmm. And then one day I get this idea, and I call Yasmin, my co-founder, and I ask her, hey, what if I have a lot of friends who tutor? I have a lot of students calling me. I'm getting a bit tired of tutoring. What if we just put a platform where we put everybody in there and we just, match them up? And she said, let's do it. That sounds like the right thing to do. And that was end of 2015.
Okay.
So we started it. It was very basic. It was not meant to be a company. It was just something on the side we needed to do, to make a little bit more money. And, it grew a little, but it wasn't a company until 2017, when we decided to make it a company and go full time. And then things exploded from there.
Good on you. Good on you. Very, very, very good journey. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it was not something that you thought, okay, you said, okay, they are doing it, it sounds like a good idea, let's do it. It's like more or less, okay, let us, we have a need, let us, create a platform, bring that needs and solve that problem. And then you took it on from there. So that's an interesting startup journey, Haitham. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. It's a thing that I don't think anybody who has started a great company, it started with the same vision, so it started small, and then it grew, and then when you see, okay, I've got something that I could do big things with it, you start now digging deep into your kind of emotions and personality, and what do you want to change in the world, really. And to me, many things were very clear because I'm a tech guy in general, and I am I'm critical of where we are in terms of technology in the world. Mm-hmm. And the pandemic now with coronavirus came to just prove it to everyone. We're in 2020, and most of our technologies are not 2020 technologies at all. They're very outdated. And I think like the only thing that, caught up with the 2020 technology is probably social media. And that's it. All other technologies are still trying to catch up. So, why not try to jump on that wagon and, lead the process.
Interesting. Thank you, Haitham, for sharing your thoughts. And Haitham, moving on to the next question, could you please share about Modaris's unique product offerings, that which is a standout for your customers? So when I say customers, so you have two customers, you have the students as well as the tutors. So what's the standout for both of them?
So at the beginning, let me just define for you what is Modaris, because some people take it as, it's this educational company that can help you. We're not an educational company in any way. We are a technological company that innovates in education. None of us here is experts in education. We're not educators in any way. But what we're expert on is, creative problem solution. And Modaris is a very agile company. So we are not afraid to switch and pivot to anything that will, help the bigger number of people. So the original point of Modaris is to provide home tutoring solutions and easier ways to find qualified tutors for students. And it provides them face-to-face. Mm-hmm. So it's been always home tutoring. So people would find tutors around them in the city, that filter them and so on. They choose the tutor, and then the tutor would meet with them for the session. And we kept innovating on that, how to make it easier, faster, and at the same time, providing a great opportunity for people to make extra income for tutors, just like any other sharing economy, like Uber and all these services. So that worked, and that grew fast. But then we were waiting to, we've been always working on how do we solve the problem of people who can't find tutors next to them. Mm-hmm. And how can we solve that with the resources we have? The solution was online tutoring, but there were two huge problems with online tutoring. The first one is the technology. I call it the sad way of tutoring, which is just, the Zoom way, or like all these conference tools ways of tutoring. And that doesn't bring what tutors need or students need. And the other way is the culture. People are not, or have not been ready, or weren't ready to go online for, a tutor, to trust a tutor completely online. There are a lot of people who jumped in on that, but not everyone. And we always deal with data. Every city or every country that we go to, we always try to feel if this country is more into home tutoring or online tutoring. And if you give both choices to a student or a parent, they always prefer home tutoring. Mm-hmm. If I can control the process right here at home with the tutor being here, I can ask them any questions, no technological problems, I can pay in cash, then why would I go into the other problem, the other solution? Mm-hmm. And it was always like that. And so in our case, we said, okay, this will change at some point, and it has to. And there has to be, even if we had to invest in awareness and whatnot, this has to change, but we have to have the right technology and we have to have the right time. And that's the most important thing. There is a lot of technologies that just great and came at the wrong time and failed miserably. Mm-hmm. Things like Google Glasses and Segway in 2002 and all these things that were great, it's just wrong time. Then coronavirus came. And it's very clear that, this is taking some time. People now have no choice but go in there. And this is accelerating the process of people adapting and accepting an online space. Yeah. So it came, and the only solution was, or the only way now is to fix the technology behind it very fast and go, release it to the public. So we've worked on decent enough technology for now. It's not the best, but better than what's out there, and definitely helps students and tutors alike. And now, we shifted to online tutoring, allowing everybody to get students or tutor from anywhere in the world with, competitive prices, better technology, and just better service.
Good on you, Haitham. And I think from what you're sharing, Modaris seems to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. So it wasn't the right time when we started it, for example. It took some time. It was slow. But, if you can survive enough until the time is right, you will get everything you've been waiting for. So it's just about, being there at the right time, for sure.
Interesting point, because sometimes, as entrepreneurs, we start, or we have a vision, we have an idea, we know that it's something that the world needs, and then sometimes, as you said, we don't persevere with it. And from what you're telling me is that you had this vision, you put it into practice, and you persevere with it, and the time came when people were really ready to use it. And it's this time, when COVID, everyone's sitting at home, and they need that tutoring service in the safety of their home, and there you are, because that perseverance, that time of waiting paid off for you in a way, isn't it? And what if you had actually packed up, for whatever reason, and thought, okay, we need to pivot and do something else? But this is good. It's a good story, and it's a good example, Haitham. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And Haitham, moving on to the next one. So what lessons have you brought forth from your previous work experiences? I believe, you said you worked as an English teacher. You were a freelancer with graphic design and animation. You were a sales engineer. You were a co-founder with for United Admissions, and a few other roles. So yes. What did you bring forth, from all those experiences into Modaris?
This would be a big list of things that I know and things that I don't know. There are, it just shapes you as a person.
That's true.
But the thing is, and I'm pretty sure you know too, is when you start your own company, then you are everything. You are the CEO, the CFO, the HR, the accountant, everything has to be you, because you're very small. And especially when we started Modaris, with $200. That's all we had for Modaris to start the first version.
Okay.
And so I think the best thing about it, and now looking back, is being open to opportunities, even if it's not necessarily something you like, just for a little bit, because it's very hard not to experience something and learn from it. If it's a new experience, you'll always learn something. The least thing is, from experience that's just dull, is to learn more about people. The stories that you come through, and it's just a lot of little things that shape your personality. And so I've done so many things in terms, dealing with people, technology, or teams, or finances, or whatsoever. And so I learned some leadership skills. I learned. Definitely one of the jobs helped me get into, dive into the passion of mine of computer science and programming and coding. I learned to, if you're a freelancer, which is now, all our tutors are freelancers. So how do I also bring my experience as a past freelancer to these new freelancers to price right, to, get a client, keep the client, and then move on and grow as a brand themselves.
Yeah.
And so there are, a lot of things. I think one of the interesting things was dealing with bosses, and then having, that kind of like an employee perspective. And then when you become a boss, and then you start appreciating that, what's happening. And then so you have a better understanding of employees and vice versa.
That's true.
And so that helps me a lot in dealing with my staff and my team to, understand what they're going through, what is fair, what is not, what is just a useless company policy, what is, an effective approach for, a procedure or a policy. And so, it's been great journey. It had its ups and downs, and but you learn and you keep learning. Like until today, there are things that are, I still keep learning about. There are things I wish I can learn more about, and it's what I do is not. I try not to say no as much as possible to new things.
Okay.
Because definitely you're going to get something out of them.
Good on you. So you're open to new ideas, new way of looking at things, and
you must.
Yeah.
I mean, one simple thing on the side will come that could definitely just change the trajectory of your life completely. And it's just knowing that is a waste not to take it. Especially that we have a limited time to live anyway. Why just stick on one path and that's it, and you just stay stagnant?
That's true.
There's a lot more to experience.
And that's true. And I think, Haitham, you also touched on a good point, that is, building relationships across the board, like, within different industries. Because sometimes, you might think, okay, that person is in the retail business, or that person is F&B, food and beverages or whatever. And you kind of think that, there might not be any crossover of ideas. But then you never know, like, some ideas might just generate a spark in you, and you might think, okay, why don't we do it in this way, in this sector? You know what I mean? That's how I think sometimes ideas are generated. And I think I appreciate that you're keeping your what do you call, your doors open to everything. And that is a good thing, because you can learn from different sectors, different industries, different people with different, wide variety of experiences.
That is very important. That's very important. I think there are a lot of industries that figured out things that, before everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's a mistake not to look into these things and understand and learn. And, as I explained earlier, for example, social media, I think a lot of industries, especially education in general, can benefit from taking a lot of social media features, to put it into the educational spectrum to help people get more engaged, because education, for example, is it's very hard to find somebody who just likes to, be educated and not to learn. Learning, a lot of people like, but education, gets into the feelings of people. It's like, oh God, now I have to do another homework.
Right.
Right. And how can you fix that? And there is a lot of ways to do it. And it's not just the educational process, like pricing. There are a lot of other industries that can help in, how do you price better? How do you market better? How do you communicate with your customers better? Which I think right now we realize it's one of the most important things that we have to invest on, which is, communicate to your customers better. That makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, good on you. Thank you, Haitham, for sharing that. And Haitham, moving on to the next one, could you share about the highs in your business till date? What was your high point? What was that you just blew your mind off and you said, yes, we have done it? Like, you know what
I mean? So in 2017, right before that, we had a venture with a partner, and it was a bad partnership, and that was a lesson to, get your partner right.
Yeah.
So when we left it, it was kind of like, that point was a low point in our lives, and we decided, okay, we're gonna just take Modaris full time, and we'll just do it from there. And we literally had like rent for 1 month. We make it or break it. So we took it both full time. We worked, it paid the bills. Things were okay. And then in 2017, there was this international tech conference that happens in Qatar every 2 years. So in 2017, we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just join in this competition and just see what people think about Modaris. We didn't know there were prizes. They just said, just showcase your business and stuff like that. So we didn't know what's happening, and there was nothing. We just wanted to see, what do people think of what we built, or are we delusional, or is it? So we went in, and then there were about 43 companies, and then the conference was 3 days, and the third day we won the prize, and we were the crown was the most innovative startup in Qatar.
Wow!
And that was eye-opening for us.
Yeah.
That was, things worked out. We knew that we had something, and that was probably, the highest thing. The second thing right after it, a few months after it, was us getting an investment from a VC. So that was, I've never dreamt of it before that, to reach that point.
Yeah.
And, we had to learn things like how to deal with investors, how much to ask for, what do we need, things like that you had to learn it on there. And we became a company. Was great. And then I think the biggest achievements of Modaris definitely came last year, 2019. 2019, we exploded in so many ways that I never thought possible. So we grew in team. We raised more money. We became international. So that was a great point. We started opening in different countries. So we operated in Qatar, in Australia, Malaysia, and Turkey. So in 2019, we grew from 200 tutors to over 8,000 tutors, 8,000, which is, huge growth for us, and we had to catch up fast with it. we won a few awards here and there. Documentaries happened about us. I think the biggest award we won was the Red Herring Asia Top 100.
Wow.
In which, it was a big deal because it's a huge honor. Big companies won that award before.
Yeah.
And so it was a great thing for us to achieve that, and we decided to look into the next chapter. And so this is, I guess, next chapter with coronavirus, with us taking it as an opportunity to grow. And this is why right now we're raising funds. We're opening the funding round and looking for investors to help us grow with the situation, help more people.
Good on you, Haitham. So it seems like there were so many high points for you. You know what I mean? And you winning that competition in Qatar, it's like kind of a big validation for your idea, isn't it? From the market, and that would have been such a big thing for you guys, like.
Absolutely.
And that was a good start.
Absolutely, especially if it was right after like a low point and you just starting to lose, to lose that belief, and you just wanted to sit, somebody tell you this is great, and then we got, the country telling us move forward, this is great, and that was it helped us a lot, definitely, in terms of motivation and moving forward.
Excellent. And it's also good to see that Qatar has a good support mechanism in place for entrepreneurs like you. You know what I mean? And that's
absolutely
a great thing.
The country grew in the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 years in terms of the ecosystem a lot. Absolutely, like any other place, there is still a long way to go. But from where we were to today, the country has exploded with startups. There is a great empowerment and support, and so that system exists, and now I think there is more work happening into developing the kind of right people to take on these projects.
Yeah. Good on you, Haitham. Thank you for sharing that, and good on Qatar as well for enabling you to do it. And moving on to the next question, Haitham. When the pandemic hit Qatar and the world, you know what I mean? For some businesses, it was pretty hard. But how did Modaris see this pandemic, and how did you place your business to actually make the best use of it, if I may?
Right. So if we're talking in Qatar, at that point we were already an international company, and one of the perks that you see is that you get to experience things around the world that you didn't experience at home, or at least experience it earlier. And so in February, end of February or so, mid-February and February, we started noticing the effects of coronavirus in markets that we operate in, like Australia and Malaysia. And we started seeing the effects, and we wanted to act, fast for our tutors there and our students there to make sure that they stay healthy. So while we were working on it, the pandemic came and hit Qatar, and at that point we were faster than everyone else because we've already seen it somewhere else. Right. To implement something. And so we implemented a very fast emergency solution, which was a Modaris virtual classroom. So we still only operated in these 4 countries, but if a student books a tutor, then we have a dedicated space where they can get the session on. So we didn't want them to go on Zoom, Google Meets, and something might work, something might not, and they don't have the enough features to ask questions, raise hands, things that they need for the session.
Right.
So we built a very fast space. We got them to continue booking students and tutors. And then at that point, we came together as a team and we started thinking, what is next? Because in general, we had to do that because it definitely hit our tutors bad, and it hit us bad because it's home tutoring.
Right.
There is no more home visits. And we're at a point where we're raising funds, which means we need more funds than what we have, and we can't just keep waiting for revenue to come in because it's tough with a startup.
Right.
So we decided on a lot of other, solutions and ideas, and the best way was seeing the trends, trying to expect to a certain degree of certainty of the at least near future, and look how can we put a plan that will, that will just extrapolate all of this and take this issue and make it an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the solution has to be long-term.
That's right.
So we decided, I put up together the team and I said, look, it's a hard time. And this is in the past 2 years or so, we've shown everywhere in the world that we can do things with, just few people and, small budget. We can just show them again. Let's put our focus on one thing. And this is what we do. We were researching the online space and online tutoring since October last year to look into what we're going to go. So we had enough data and enough perspective of what we want to do. Mm-hmm. So the project was supposed to take 8 months to build, and we were planning to start June, and by January, February release our online system. With coronavirus, we had to go as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. So we put a plan to do it within 7 weeks.
Okay.
And then
8 months.
It took about right. Yeah, and then it took about 8 weeks, but we got something working, and it was ready. We have all our customers' databases, which is thousands and thousands of people that you don't want to disappoint. You don't want to make them feel abandoned, So we got it ready. We launched a couple of days ago, actually, and the demand has been crazy. It looks like, although now it's kind of summer, it looks like this month it's gonna be more users than ever, and it's because we hit the demand where it needed it. It's just in the middle of it, and we created the space, created the technology for it, and tried to make it as intuitive as possible. And that's very important. So that's how we switched. That's how we went. We definitely still believe in home tutoring. There is huge value in it. But until coronavirus stops and vaccine comes, it won't be offered on Modaris.
Yeah. So it sounds very interesting. So when the pandemic hit, you kind of shifted your launch time. You thought you had a window of opportunity, or you had a runway of 8 months, and then all of a sudden you had to do it in 7 weeks, and you completed in 8 weeks, which is incredible, isn't it? So
it's very interesting. It feels like these people at NASA, when the president is goes, we have to be on the moon on this date, and they're like, hey, we have a few weeks, we can't build a rocket, and it felt a little bit like that. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but
you've done it, and that's good to know. And Haitham, moving on to the next one, what are your plans for your business into the future?
So there are a lot of things we want to tackle. Mm-hmm. The first thing, and this is the most basic thing, is that if a student wants to learn anything, they should find it very, very easily and at a very affordable price. Mm-hmm. This is just a basic rule that everything is built on it. So, and I'm not saying people who want to learn math or English, they can, that is available. But if somebody just wants to learn, coding, for example, specific, script, and then, it takes a lot to ask your friends to go online. Recorded videos don't really give you what you need because there is no answering questions. There is nobody with you. Even, around you have to be able to find, if there are people around you, you have the right to find them very, very fast, mm-hmm. And also it has to be affordable. And so anything that we create has to be filtered by that concept.
Okay.
And so everything that we build, it's a technology to make that concept more real.
Right.
And so one of the things, for example, that we launched in January was a service that was the first of its kind in the world in our industry. Mm-hmm. And this is what we talked about earlier, which is bringing kind of ideas from other industries into your own. And so we launched something called dynamic pricing. And what dynamic pricing does for tutors is it tells them the best price points for a certain subject within their area.
Okay.
And so if, people in Australia, or let's say in Sydney, if somebody's teaching biology for whatever class, the tool is powered with an AI that can tell them, depends on how the market is going, how much people are charging, demand and supply, and so forth.
Right.
It can tell them, if they're charging, I don't know, $20 an hour, it can tell them, people are charging 15.
Okay.
And so if they can reduce to 15, they can get more students.
Okay.
Sometimes we've seen that in many cities and in many subjects, some people are undercharging. There has been an opportunity for them to, charge at the average price where they can make more money, and they get, the students will also keep taking them. So we build these things to still make sure that people earn fairly, people find students fairly. And so we're building more and more on that. We would definitely want Modaris to be the biggest place where you can find any tutor for any subject at any time. Right now, we're about 10,500 tutors, which is big numbers in terms of how many tutors are on the side to help you with something. But the vision is to reach 1 million tutors and have a one spot that is the biggest around the world for people to find anybody for anything. And there are other places that are closer to education that we want to help help it with technology, things like university admissions, more of homework help, more of skills help, things that are just on demand that we're looking into to see how can our experience and our knowledge come and help in that area.
Good on you, Haitham. Thank you for sharing that. And Haitham, moving on to the next question. When you look back to the time from when Modaris started operations, what would you have done differently and why? So this is in hindsight. When you look back, is there something that you would have done differently?
That is a tricky question. Do I, for example, regret, or did I ever say, "Oh, I could have done this better" or something? Absolutely. But would I change anything differently? It's really hard, because I think it's very hard to say that, because then it wouldn't be me. It would be someone else. It would have changed the trajectory of who I am and where we are today. So even with the bad things that happened in the past, I think it was important to reach this point. So maybe the only thing I would have told myself is to worry less, chill. Things will work out. But from the things that happened, I think it just had to happen to result in this today.
Good on you. So they were kind of like your life lessons, and that's
absolutely
good to know.
Absolutely. There are a lot of things that they suck at that point, but then later on it definitely helps you shape your next decision.
Good on you, Haitham. Yeah, that's good to know. And Haitham, moving on to the next one. So what are the life and business lessons that you would like to share with someone who is planning to start a venture or a business or a service in a similar sector to yours in Qatar? It need not be, a similar sector. It could be any sector,
Any sector.
We'll keep it a bit more open. So as an entrepreneur, what are the life and business lessons you would like to share?
Right. So I've been asked a lot that question. I think there is a few things that for sure can help, but not everybody just listens and does what he's told until they go through it and then learn it themselves.
That's true.
But some of the things that I see is the first thing is people, when they think they have an idea, they think they have a business. These are two different things, extremely two different things. I actually I do consultation for startups here in Qatar.
Okay.
And so I try to share as many, of these things as possible with them, but people equate idea to business, and these are two different things. And also equate a good idea to a good business. Again, almost irrelevant, And a lot of people, when they come to me in the consultation sessions, they have an NDA. They non-disclosure agreements, and I'm happy to sign it, and I do. And then I tell them, listen, look, the idea is, it doesn't matter unless you have a good business plan and a good execution. If you have the best idea in the world and you don't have the good business plan and good execution, it's never going to go anywhere at all. And so, especially when people are like very secretive about it, I don't want somebody to, copy my idea. People will copy your idea. That is, if you're successful, you bet they will, 100%. I know of 4 companies, at least locally in Qatar, that copied Modaris. One of them, copy paste as is, and it took them 6 months to fail. It is not the idea. People will copy you. It's your brand, it's your business plan, it's your leadership and the team, and it's what you can produce, to your customers. The second thing, especially when it comes to tech, a lot of these tech companies come from tech people or engineers, right? And these people think differently than business people. And a lot of them, they come up with an idea and a great product and even develop it and things are ready, but then they fail to launch, or they fail in general because they do not include people of expertise in the right places. They don't include businessmen or businesswomen in the business, process itself. They think that they can run it themselves. And if they don't at least take lessons or learn from somewhere, then at least they have to get someone on the team. And a lot of people don't see that of value. They think they just can do it themselves. And I think it's very important to know what you're not good at before what you're good at, and be in peace with it. I, for example, not great with not communication, but like advertising and marketing. I'm not forcing it. I have my people, and do what you're good at, right? Even in development, although I develop, but in the team we have better developers. So when it comes to it, this is why they're there. You're better than me. You're here to do better things, and this is an important thing that people need to understand. And if they don't have money to pay it, then they should be willing to start giving a share of the business to them, because they're the first people coming in. They need to have ownership to help, and they need to feel that they're not exploited.
Right.
And so these are a few things that are people with no entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial experience face, I feel, in regular basis. It's almost common mistakes when they start any business. But then there are other issues that are, I would say, country or regional related things, like dealing with investments, because it's different how what are the investors, how much money they have, and how do they understand about your industry, right? So for example, the Gulf has a lot of money, but it's very real estate oriented and oil oriented, and more of governmental mentality than private mentality, and all of these things that shape up in the equation that so for that, for example, it's very hard to get a consultant from the US to consult with you on how to raise money in the Gulf. I've had people, but it's irrelevant because it's just a different game. The
context is different,
very different. People don't understand either. For example, in tech, people are harder to understand tech. Some people don't believe in it. Some, and you go see, and we are part of the wave that will change this in the future for other people. Like we've got a couple of companies that are unicorn here, things like Souk.com, Kareem. They're helping the next waves, and we're part of these next waves that will, every time you succeed, you make it better for the next person. And it's vice versa for other people, because in the US, for example, most of the companies that start in the US, the US is huge. It's like a planet by itself. So they just focus there. And when they go international, they kind of it's really hard for them because the world is not the US. It's very different. And us being here, we interact, I feel, a bit faster and deeper with other ethnicities, cultures, and traditions faster than the US. So we understand it to go international much faster than them, with having kind of localized experiences of the other cultures within our products. There aren't many examples of us, but the ones that we have are pretty good. And I'm happy with that. And it's good for these companies to, the new entrepreneurs to look at these companies and reach out and ask. You never know. Sometimes people think, these people don't have time for me. Sometimes one email can, people can actually reply. And if you have anybody around you that has done an experience like that around, always ask, get the opportunity.
That's true. And Haitham, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, what you've said is right. You need to reach out to people, ask questions, don't shy away from, meeting up with others and bouncing ideas off. And I think that's a very, very
absolutely. These are the two groups that I've seen. A group that is shy and scared to ask because they think they're not worth it, or people are not going to answer them, or their question is stupid, there is nothing like that. And a group that thinks, group that has huge ego. They just started a company like 2 weeks back, and then they're like, I'm Steve Jobs. And they don't want to ask, so they don't show that they don't know. No one knows. We're all in this. Just ask, and we'll just know all together at the same time. And so I keep seeing these two groups often and often.
Good on you, Haitham. And Haitham, coming to the last question, and I thought of asking you this because, I usually don't come across startups who have a husband and a wife as co-founders. You know what I mean? It's very unique. So, as a husband and wife co-founders like of Modaris, what's unique in that? You know what I mean? The professional line of things. How do you make that work as a team? If you can share a few points, that would be great.
Absolutely. It's I think it's an unfair advantage we have over a lot of other startups. So with Yasmin, because she's my wife and also she's my co-founder and partner, the line of ideas and the communication is much faster. It's much clearer, much more honest.
Okay.
And it helps with big decisions because it affects, a big decision with the company will affect both of our personal lives, not just professional lives. And so it's a lot more, there are two honest brains working on something rather than one. And it's great. It also brings in, because it's always at the background. The work is a background, even if you're doing personal things. And sometimes there are these ideas or plans or things that come out at the randomest times because, we live together. So it helps, you don't have, I have this idea, write it down, and then by tomorrow I'll talk to the team or whatnot. Things just happen on the spot.
That's true.
So it helps a lot. It helps a lot. It has its challenges for sure. Things like, when are you going to stop talking about work? Things they happen. Yeah. And we have fun rules to do about that. Things like, no talk about work on Friday at all. Just move on. Friday, at least Friday, we don't mention work at all. We kind of try to disconnect as much as possible. And things, that are fun. Overall, it's absolutely positive.
Good on you, Haitham. And Haitham, so thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the in-depth knowledge, the experience you've shared with me. And, I really wish Modaris and Team Modaris the best of wishes for all that you're going to do into the future.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're most welcome, Haitham, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.